Hello, everyone. My name is Crystal Long, and today I will be presenting a review of the article Navigating Polarization: The Challenges of Teaching Controversial Topics in Suburban Social Studies Classrooms by Matthew Waller. This article was published in 2025 in the Journal of Multicultural Education. Before we hop into all of the information, I just wanted to kind of give you an introduction of what to expect while we are navigating this presentation. So, as educators, we're increasingly teaching in environments where political and social issues can be highly polarized. Topics such as race, elections, immigration, gender, and social justice often generate strong opinions from students, families, and community members. Waller's article examines how social studies teachers navigate these challenges while attempting to maintain productive learning environments and social democratic citizenship. So, throughout this presentation, I will discuss the purpose of the study, the theoretical framework, methods, findings, and implications for educational practice. So let's get right into the presentation. The objectives of this article, or the main purpose, the primary purpose of this study is to understand how suburban social studies teachers navigate controversial political topics in increasingly polarized communities. Waller explores three major areas. First, he explores or examines how teachers approach controversial issues in the classroom. Second, he investigates the tension teachers experience between promoting civic dialogue and avoiding conflict. And finally, he explores how political pressures influence instructional decisions and curriculum choices. A major problem highlighted in the article is that teachers often feel pressure from multiple stakeholders, like parents may object to certain topics being discussed, school districts may have political or policies that limit instructional freedom, communities may hold strong political beliefs, and students themselves often bring diverse perspectives into the classroom. As a result, many teachers fear backlash or criticism when discussing controversial issues. This fear can lead teachers to avoid certain topics entirely, even when those topics are important to students' civic development. One of the most significant takeaways from this section is the concern that students may not be receiving adequate opportunities to practice respectful disagreement. If schools avoid controversial conversations altogether, students may leave school without the skills necessary to engage in democratic dialogue. This raises an important question for educators. How can educators balance neutrality with the responsibility to engage students in critical conversations? Which brings us to perspectives and the theoretical framework. The theoretical framework is grounded in democratic education and civic discourse. Waller argues that social studies teacher classrooms serve as important spaces where students learn to participate in democracy. Students develop critical thinking skills, evaluate evidence, consider multiple perspectives, and learn how to engage in productive discussions about complex issues. Several major concepts frame the study. These include political polarization, democratic participation, controversial issue pedagogy, teacher neutrality, and student voice. A key argument that students become more civically engaged when they have opportunities to discuss authentic issues that affect society. However, increasing political polarization creates challenges for teachers attempting to facilitate those discussions. Teachers often find themselves balancing two competing Goals. On one hand, they want to encourage open dialogue and critical thinking, but on the other hand, they want to avoid accusations of bias or political advocacy. Waller connects his study to several areas of existing scholarship. The article draws on research related to civic education, democratic participation, political polarization, teacher self-censorship, and discussion-based pedagogy. One concept that stood out to me was affective polarization. This refers to the growing tendency for people to view those with different political beliefs negatively. This creates additional challenges in classrooms because discussions can quickly become emotional rather than educational. The article highlights research showing that some teachers engage in self censorship because they fear criticism from parents, administrators, or community members. I found the theoretical framework to be coherent and well developed. Waller effectively demonstrates how broader political tensions influence classroom instruction. The literature review clearly supports the study's purpose and helps readers understand why controversial issue instruction has become increasingly difficult. So, the methods and techniques or modes of inquiry that were used, Waller utilized the qualitative research design. This approach was appropriate because the study focused on understanding teacher experiences and perceptions rather than measuring numerical outcomes. The research examined suburban social studies teachers and explored how they make instructional decisions regarding controversial topics. Data collection included interviews, teacher reflections, and discussions of classroom experiences. Qualitative research allowed participants to explain not only what decisions they made, but also why they made them. This deeper level of understanding would have been difficult to achieve through surveys alone. The study focuses on lived experiences and professional decision making, making qualitative inquiry an appropriate choice. One of the strengths of this method is that it captures the emotional and professional tensions teachers experience. Teachers were able to discuss concerns about community reactions, student responses, and professional consequences associated with controversial discussion. The methods align well with the study's purpose because the research questions seek to understand teacher experiences rather than establish casual relationships. Overall, the research design provides rich descriptions that help readers understand the complexities of teaching controversial topics in polarized environments. So, the data sources, evidence, and materials. The participants in the studies were suburban social studies teachers who shared their instructional experiences and perspectives. The evidence included teacher interviews, personal narratives, classroom examples, and reflections about controversial issue instruction. Several themes did emerge from the data. Teachers frequently reported fear of backlash from parents and community members. Many felt pressure to remain politically neutral while simultaneously encouraging meaningful discussion. Participants also described difficulties facilitating productive conversations when students held strong opposing viewpoints. But a major strength of the study is that it provides firsthand accounts from participating and practicing educators. These voices add authenticity and depth to the findings and help readers understand the realities teachers face. So, the results and conclusions. The major findings suggest that many teachers feel constrained when discussing controversial issues. Political polarization influences curriculum decision, classroom discourse, and instructional choices. Some educators reported avoiding certain topics altogether because they feared complaints or professional consequences. Teachers described feeling caught in between promoting civic engagement and maintaining classroom harmony. Waller concludes that polarization can limit teachers' autonomy and reduce opportunities for meaningful civic learning. I found the conclusion convincing because they are grounded in participant experiences and supported by thematic analysis. One of the strengths of the study is that it centers teacher voices. The findings feel authentic and relevant to current educational challenges. However, one limitation is that the study focuses on only 6 teachers in suburban New York. While the findings are insightful, they may not represent every educational context across the country. But overall, the study demonstrates that avoiding controversial discussions may unintentionally limit students' development as informed and engaged citizens. The scientific or scholarly significance for this article is that this article is significant for educational practices. First, it highlights how political polarization extends beyond public discourse and directly affects classroom instruction. Second, it contributes to conversations about democratic education, civic engagement, and culturally responsive teaching. As educators, we are responsible for helping students develop critical thinking skills and learn how to engage respectfully with differing viewpoints. However, teachers need support in order to facilitate these conversations effectively. This article connects strongly to broader discussions about teacher agency and professional autonomy. It suggests that schools should create environments where thoughtful dialogue is encouraged rather than avoided. For me as an educator, the article serves as a reminder that democratic education refers both to courageous teaching as well as instructional support. My references come from the original article, The Challenges of Teaching Controversial Topics in Suburban Social Studies Classrooms, and then I added some additional supplemental texts that help with the additional scholarship and support with discussions around political polarization, civic education, and controversial issue instruction. So, in conclusion, Waller's article provides valuable insight into the challenges teachers face when navigating controversial issues in political polarized environments. The study demonstrates that teachers are often balancing competing expectations while attempting to support student learning and civic engagement. Ultimately, the article reminds us that preparing students for democratic participation requires opportunity for reflection, respectful dialogue, critical thinking, and engagement with diverse perspectives. Thank you for your time and attention. I welcome any questions or discussions.